Day number 5 of our online learning, and we are going to shift gears. The events that has put us in this position have caused us to. If wait a minute. I'm sorry. If you have me for world history, I must invoke this. Just gives me such protection. The spoon has been cut off from the federal government. We'll talk about that in a minute. The events of this that has put us in this predicament are actually a pretty good time to literally kind of look at a good discussion of some information here about emergency powers and how emergency powers are being used by the president, by especially the governors of these states. Look at our situation and our current stay-at-home order. How can a governor justify doing that? Only in Michigan law and other state laws, very similar, have certain provisions in certain emergency situations, such as the one that we're in with this pandemic, to be able to limit citizens and their civil liberties. So we're going to we're going to stop what we've been doing with the exchange principle and forensics. We're going to come back to it after break. But for now, let's take a look at these emergency powers, specifically how these governors are able to execute these powers and why it's important for them to be clear. If you look at the different ones, and you don't have to spend time looking at the different ones, but you look at the different ones throughout the states, there's different nuances. What's an essential business? What isn't an essential business? There's been a lot of unclarity around the Michigan Governor Whitmer's order that was given Monday to do what you should be doing, which is staying at home and doing your work. To unless of course you God forbid you become ill or your family members have become ill, which hopefully is not the case. You have these orders, and how are they able to be executed? Now, Michigan law says I think it's 28 days. So the governor's got 28 days to do this, and then it's got to go through the legislative process. So, as we're looking at this, there's going to be I'm going to got a series of articles here, and this series of articles is assignment 18. And there are different articles that talk about different aspects. Wait a minute for this to get pulled up. Think back to when we discussed clear laws and a legislative intent. And the governor's order, you could look at it. It's 2 or 3 page PDF. She's allegedly said she had business leaders looking through it. Honestly, the way that it ended up working is kind of a template because other states have done it. It's a template that's been used in other states. The grocery stores, the pharmacies, the shipping, any other essential businesses are allowed to stay open. Um, this law can be difficult to enforce too. I'm just kind of talking, and this would be so much better in class, but it is what it is. I still want you to think about it. So think back when we discussed clear laws and legislative intent, and how you have to be clear in what is in how you're going to execute these orders. There's some confusion among businesses on what is essential, what is not. Why is it important to understand what is clear under provisions of a stay-at-home order? What can state governors order to? Why can state governors order people to remain in their houses and close businesses? And this, looking at the USA Today article, they have certain extraordinary emergency powers that allow them to do this in emergencies such as these. What is the Defense Production Act? Hint: it's an act that the national government has that was all the way back that allows for takeover for war efforts or for emergency purposes. And why do people say it needs to be enacted here? For the masks, gloves, the ventilators, especially. As you know, the idea that our hospitals are about to get creamed in many instances, and there may not be enough ventilators for the people that need them. What does the Washington Post article say that why this pandemic response is going to be a drama in 51 acts? Okay, you got to think of that out. 51 acts, 50 states. Again, answering these in a color other than black, incomplete sentences. Incomplete sentences. I can't say that. I can't harbor that well enough. Incomplete sentences. I basically have told you where to go for these articles. And then our system of federalism. Again, federalism, remember, is the division of powers between the state, the state, and the local governments, each of them having their own spheres of power. To give both the federal and state governments powers, especially in emergency, federal, state, and really, I guess, local governments. I mean, if you look at New York, which is the epicenter in the United States, at least, of this um, coronavirus pandemic, even De Blasio, the mayor of New York, has certain powers that he's enacted. Um, so craft a response 3 to 4 sentences. Think about the following questions. You don't have to address them all. Do you think these emergency powers um, in extraordinary circumstances like times of emergency or war are justified? What concerns about civil liberties like constitutional laws against unlawful confinement? How can the governor say, "Hey, you got to stay at home under possible penalty a possible misdemeanor penalty"? Could be present. In the case of the coronavirus response, would it be more efficient to consolidate the emergency powers of the federal government? Would it be better for Trump to say national stay-at-home order? He's very reluctant to do that because of the economy, but that's a whole nother story. We're not going to get into that here. Is there a benefit to each state crafting its own response to a crisis? So I've given you a series of articles, and I've kind of hinted you in as to which ones you look at for each question. The links are all in Classroom. Which ones you look at for each question? The one about the Defense Production Act, there are actually several articles, and then um, what allows for these to be done. This is for Friday, and this is their sole assignment for Friday. Now, some of you still need to finish, even though it's for Wednesday. Some of you still need to finish looking at the three aspects on the Padlet. Remember, you're just adding a little plus sign to the Padlet at the bottom. And move my fat face out of the way here. A little plus sign to the bottom here that add opposed to this column. Only the first three for now. What types of things might you take with you if you've gone out on errands to a furniture store, the laundromat, and the house of a friend who has one child or one dog? Thinking about the exchange principle again is a small. What things might you pick up from each place? And if someone robbed your friend's house while your friend was away, they could place you at the scene of crime. How could you defend yourself to police? I talked more about this on Monday. So if you're needing more extensive understanding of this, before you add these. And no, I have not approved the posts yet. I want you to go ahead and do it on your own. We'll come back to the next columns. I know we said to do that, and I interrupted it with this important current event. Keeping in mind that the exchange principle. Also, don't forget that you need to work on the Modern Marvels Forensic Science that was assigned on Monday as well. The Modern Marvels Forensic Science. You only need to do the first 10 minutes. That was due today. That is due today. The first three cases that was assigned on Monday of Forensic Science assignment 17 when it opens. There's questions, and the first 10 minutes amounts to the first three videos as we continue our look at forensics. The other two items that most of you finished, the classification key terms Quizlet. Some of you didn't do your test, your your assessment with a score of at least 90%. One other game of your choice, match or gravity, and attaching the screenshots either on a Google Doc or separate screenshots. And we'll go back to 318 if you need help with that on doing that. Again, a score of at least 90% of the test, one game of your choice, and a write and a learn, and then a test with a score of at least 90%. And then some of you have not, a few of you still need to make your comments here on from your most intriguing crime case. Again, I talked about that last week as well. Those are more catch-up work. A lot of you finished the key terms Quizlet, but some of you still need to do the assessment piece. The assessment piece, I made a 5-point test grade. So haven't entered it as a 0 yet, but will end up doing so at some point. My other computer went out, so then my backlight on my face went out. All right, so this is the last lesson and activity before break. So, as you may have heard, we're not doing anything for Friday. We were going to, and now we're not. So this will be it. I will see you after break on video, at least for the first week. We'll see what the rest brings. So right now, the emergency article questions for Friday, and then any other catch up work, because the other exchange principal Padlet was due today, and then the Modern Marvels first 7 questions of first 10 minutes of the video were also due today based on Monday, and then any catch up work from last week over in the right hand side. Okay, stay safe, stay healthy, hopefully. Thank you.